Hello, YouTubers. This is Nina's Reality TV Blogger. Hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Today I'm going to be discussing Steve Harvey Show from last Friday. He had Diamond from Love is Blind on Netflix on, and those of you who are not familiar with the show, it's a reality show on Netflix that was created by the same producers of Married at First Sight on Lifetime, to where the singles talk behind these pods sight unseen and for several days, and then at a certain point they narrow down the singles that they are talking to then decide upon who they want to get engaged to. And so then after they choose their person, they meet in person finally and do a formal engagement with like rings and everything. And then they go on a pre-honeymoon to get to know each other. And then after the pre-honeymoon trip, they live together for a short period of time for like a few weeks and get to know each other's families, get to plan the wedding, see how it's like living together and their dynamic. And then on the wedding day, when they get to the altar, each person has to make the decision on whether or not they want to move forward with the marriage and be legally married, or if they do not want to move forward with that person and remain single. So essentially for Diamond, she did not make it to the altar. She was unfortunately blindsided, as Steve Harvey was saying, but essentially on her pre-honeymoon with the person she selected, he disclosed to her that he was bisexual. And obviously that was not something that he had brought up during the time that they got to know each other in the pods. And so she felt that was pretty manipulative, and it caused this huge argument on their trip. And so pretty much after all of that, the trip was over and her experience was over. So and then as a follow-up, they recently had a catch-up show, like a What Are They Doing Now special on Netflix, in terms of what everybody from the U.S. season 1 cast was up to, who was married, who was dating, who was having kids, this and that. And so Diamond was set up with another gentleman that was with another single that was a part of the process season 1. However, there was drama because it seemed like they hit it off, but then they had this big party to celebrate a couple of the couples that are still married. It was their anniversary, and she basically like ditched her date. Like she wanted to bring a date to show that she was seeing somebody, but then she essentially ignored her date and left him out in the dust. And he ended up just bolting early. And then it came out kind of later that, it wasn't what it seemed with them or something weird. So needless to say, here we are on the Steve Harvey Show. Diamond thinks this is all about God. This is the Lord. And Steve Harvey basically is like, you got to stop bringing God into these dysfunctional situations. He did not tell you to involve yourself with, some of these shenanigans and this and that. And so then after that, he then brings out these three gentlemen, kind of set up like the dating game style, where both Steve Harvey and Diamond kind of asked them a group of questions to kind of get a gauge on who would be the best fit to go out on a date with Diamond when it's all said and done. And so there were three gentlemen that came out. The first gentleman was Chris. He is a personal trainer. The second gentleman, his name is Davey. He was a CDC analyst, and for Survivor fans, he was on Survivor 37, I believe, and he is a voice actor. And then Brandon, the third gentleman, he is an entrepreneur who said that his business is making sure that men look good and feel good. So I was like, okay, that could be a variety of things, but that essentially was that. So all of them had different questions, and to be honest, I felt that there were different red flags in all of them. Like in one of Chris's questions, he was asked essentially what is one of his downfalls or something that's a negative or a detractor, and he said that he is too nice. And already being a personal trainer, where you're surrounded by several women and things of that nature, and you're basically saying that you have an issue saying no, because that's really what too nice means. Too nice means you are too nice to say no to anything. But in terms of dating and relationships, you're too nice and you have too many other people in your life that should not be there, where there's no boundaries that are set. So he could potentially have a harem or a bunch of female girlfriends, and this and that, and there's no boundaries if you were to date him. And then another red flag that I found in Davy, the second gentleman, was he is huge into Christianity. He said he puts God first, and, that's what he lives by, and that's what his faith is. However, he said he wanted a woman to have faith in something. Right after he said that he puts God first and is a Christian. And so my initial thought was, well, why wouldn't you want somebody who has the same beliefs as you? Because somebody can believe in something, but that something may not be what you are aligned with and your beliefs, which could cause conflict down the road. So I don't know if he misspoke and just meant that, while he is passionate and serious about his faith and his Christianity, that he also would want somebody that shares that same religious beliefs and then also has some sort of passion for something. Maybe that's what he was saying. I don't know. It was very bizarre. And then Brandon said his best quality was that he was sophisticated, but there was no context other than he gets up, showers, grooms himself every day, and looks good, looks the part. But that doesn't mean that you're a good person. There's people who shower every day, who dress nice, who have nice jobs, but are terrible people. So that doesn't mean, what do you mean? He couldn't even articulate, what is so great about him that makes him sophisticated. And so then it was kind of nice because Steve kind of asked in different ways, and I thought this was actually good because I go back and forth on Steve Harvey because I'm how are we supposed to think like a man and you've been married all these times and all this and that. But nonetheless, he did have a good point in terms of different ways of asking men questions. And that way they're not being turned off or you're not being perceived as being desperate or being a gold digger or things of that nature. And so, instead of asking, hey, what's your credit score? Hey, how much do you make? Hey, blah, 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 blah. What do you like to do in your free time? What are some additional interests that you have outside of work? And I thought those were great questions because, one, you were seeing whether or not the gentleman is going to have time for you outside of his regular 9 to 5. And two, you are also seeing, okay, is this person interesting? Do they have interesting hobbies and interests, or are they boring? Or are they just a homebody and do nothing? So I thought that was actually a really good piece of advice. And it actually explored, it revealed so much about the men. So the personal trainer essentially said that he has no time, that he's in his free time. He's essentially just putting, everything back into his business. However, there was something weird because when he first came out, he called himself the King of Snatched, and I thought that was a little bit inappropriate. However, he later explained that it was meaning he had transformed over 500 people's lives, with health and wellness and everything else through his personal training, which is amazing. But you could have came up with a different moniker for yourself. I felt that was very bizarre. Because you can also interpret the King of Snatch that you are hooking up with your clients and that you have a harem. So I didn't think that it was what he thought it was going to be. I did not find that entertaining or amazing by any stretch of the imagination. And so then, when Steve Harvey got to Davy, his free time, what he likes to do, he has interest in cosplay, which can be pretty expensive in terms of playing for different costumes and going to different conventions and things. And he also said he was very much into Marvel comics and he was into cartoons, but he had also wanted to be a cartoonist. So, so I thought that was pretty interesting, but he said he didn't have the financial resources at the time to pursue that, but that is something that he is interested in. And so then, after that, they asked Brandon, what does he do in his free time? And so he basically said he has no time. He said that he spends all of his time, basically working with these gentlemen so that they look good and feel good, but never really said exactly truly what that meant. Like, is it a self-help, type of situation? Is it a grooming thing? Like, what is your business? So that was kind of weird. So then Steve had asked, it was either Steve or Diamond. They had asked, what was their first impression of Diamond? So Chris, the personal trainer, he starts cursing, says a curse word, and then says that she's sexy. But since everything kind of just bleeped out, it just looked like he said like some major cuss word the entire time. And then Steve asked Brandon what he thought of Diamond, and he said angelic. And then he asked Davey, what was your first impression of Diamond when he met her? And then Steve butts in and he's like, let me guess, Looney Tunes. And it was funny. I'm not going to lie. But what made it awkward was Diamond put her hand on Steve Harvey's arm because she was like laughing so hard, and Steve Harvey kind of like lifted his arm up like, get your hand off of me. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? And so then I felt Davey rebounded really well, and he said that, Diamond is illuminating. He loved her look. He loved how her jewelry sparkled, how she was glowing, and everything else. And he really like rebounded from Steve Harvey trying to sabotage him. So I thought that was like an amazing comeback. So then after that, he asked a final question if anybody was bisexual, which was funny, but at least they said publicly no, was their answers. And that was pretty much that. So the conclusion was, now it's time to choose who Diamond wants to pick to go out on a date with. And so technically for me, I didn't feel really any of them were all the way ready, but I felt out of the three that were chosen for this, that Davey was the most ready to, go out on a date and things of that nature. They actually had a lot in common, him and Diamond, because they both went to HBCUs. They're both in, Black Greek fraternity and sororities. He at least, they both have great jobs. Diamond, I think she's working on her PhD as well. And I think they would complement each other very well. So, but I think Steve kind of took away with the cartoons things. And I don't know. I felt like he didn't like him. And so as a result of that, Diamond chose the bachelor number 3, Brandon. And I kind of felt a way about it because he didn't seem that interested. Like when he came over, he gave her like this side hug. And I was like, oh no, he gave her like the appreciate you hug. This is not going to end well. And so Steve Harvey said that they were going to go out to eat at Capitol Grill and that he was going to bring back the other 2 gentlemen for future episodes for another type of dating or matchmaking thing. And I don't know what to make of this other than Diamond is caught up still in the wrong things. She's still caught up in a person's looks or chemistry or things of that nature. She's caught up in the wrong things of what she thinks she wants and not what she actually needs, and not actually the person who is actually going to treat her right and do right by her. The last guy, like, really the personal trainer and the guy she chose kind of still gave me like clout chasing vibes, that this was an opportunity for them to promote themselves and everything else. So I don't know if I could really say for 100 that this was serious, but apparently we will get to see soon. I'm hoping some type of follow-up episode on how this date went, and maybe Steve Harvey can critique, you know, things that were positive and were negative or what have you on the date, because that's, I guess, the same person that he wrote down. But I'm a little skeptical because Steve Harvey also set up Cynthia from Real Housewives of Atlanta with Mike Hill, who is a sports analyst and also works on the Black News Network with Sharon Reed. And there's been like some cheating rumors with him as of late, as well as him saying to Cynthia when she was on Real Housewives of Atlanta that, you know, he's cheated on all of his exes and all of his friends are female. So I'm like, why does Steve Harvey, like, he always has this influence on these people who are like the most problematic out of the group who are not marriage material. So yeah, that's my main concern, is Diamond still may not know how to pick. But nonetheless, I guess we'll see what happens. If there is a follow-up, if things turn out to go well or not. And I guess we'll wait for the update. Please let me know your thoughts. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will link the Facebook episode in the description box. You guys can check it out for yourselves if you haven't seen it. I will talk to you guys again soon.